All right, what's up, guys? Gonna try something a little bit different tonight. What I've done is I've let's try and get this to maybe come off the screen here. Um, that's fine. We'll let that run. So what I've done is I've pre-recorded the session. Had a little sit and go session. We were in for $90, two $15 sit and goes. One was a double up. One was a regular not handed. And then here in just a second, we'll have two $30 six max sit and goes. One was actually a bounty and one was a regular. Um, and so actually coming off the bat here at Gator Tail, we just watched him, probably didn't see it, played a really weird pot and got really lucky with a really bad hand. And so I just made the decision here that um, I raised and he donked into me twice, and I was just going to call no matter what he bet the whole time. My decision was made, and he shows the king three offsuit. So um, going to be fun to watch Gator Tail play. I make some notes on him. Dreykus plays a pot that's really bizarre, and we'll have another guy come up here on our six max screen that we played with before that also plays some hands really, really strange as well. So, I'd love to know if some of these spots these people are playing, if that's maybe the new norm and I've just missed the boat. But I'm seeing just a lot of really bizarre stuff, a lot of limping with really, really bad hands and calling and out of position play. And, people just seem to be still not playing very well. And I didn't realize, I thought at this point, sit and goes were kind of solved. And I didn't realize there was still money to be made in sit and go poker, online poker. So, hopefully I'm going to go. I already played. I just finished, and so I'm running this back pretty quickly so I can remember some of the spots that I had. Again, I'm trying something new, a new format. Usually I commentate while I'm playing live, and that keeps me in the moment. Where now I'm going to have to go back and kind of remember some of the spots I played, and hopefully I can remember why I made the decisions that I made. Yeah, check me. That's the other guy that we've got a note on there that we played with him before, and he just does some really, really odd stuff. So coming up here shortly, you'll see a spot that is really bizarre. And Dreykus also plays a spot really bizarre as well. So I'm making a little note here on Gator Tail. He called limp with king three off, and then bet out into me on three streets with king high. So pretty odd play there by him. So let me pause this for a second here. So we get the typical, I do this too. I like to raise into my big blind when the table folds to me. So I get raised into, and even though it is a double up, which I think you should change your strategy tremendously, I just had to go ahead and call with a hand like king queen offsuit. And we get bet into, and again, it's a double up. So there's really just no need to get super involved here. While I hate calling raises and folding out to one bet, I just decide, with Gator Tail at the table, we should have a much better opportunity to find better spots, with people like that. So A7 there, I decided to go ahead and fold. As I continue to play, yeah, I was like watching check me in this spot. So obviously he called a raise there, in spite of good flop. But I'd like to look at spots, with like the A7 there, how often I should maybe be three betting when Nick opens in those spots and turning my hand into a bluff. I really don't know. And how many times do they call with worse? So kind of just getting back into playing sit and goes. And I think that type of feel for the game will probably come in time. So I pick up king 10 under the gun +1, six max. That's good enough definitely to go ahead and open. And like I've talked about before, I do like to open 3x on the early stages of the blinds, and then look to change to just min raises once the blinds go up. So real quick, normally here, I always bet here. I was the pre-flop raiser, and usually I always bet in this spot. but we've got three other players in the pot, and so I just decided to go ahead and check back here. And so with check me in the pot, I'm definitely going to get here. Basically, a min raise. Definitely looking to get in here with deuces, flop a set, and hopefully win a big pot off of check me. And even though it's just a min bet with two people behind me, I really got no chance to catch up. I decided to go ahead and get out of that spot there. So, Bumblebee does a min open right here, and I get a chance to close the action, even though it's got called in the spot. And so, with my top pair, top kicker, while I'm not looking to go too crazy with a flop like that, I'm feeling pretty confident with my hand. So I decided to go ahead and just call. Um, you know, could you check raise that flop? Go back to it real quick. Could I check raise here? Probably, but let's think about it for a second. He bet 71 and I call 71. That's not going to put 284 into the pot. Okay. And so what type of number could I three bet to, right? So I could probably three bet to about 210, 220, something like that. And let's say he decides to call that as well. That's going to add what, another 170, 60, 160, 100, 150, 150 into the pot each, so another 300. Um, that grows the pot by almost makes the pot 500 there. Actually makes it almost 600. And so I'll have about 12, a little less than 1,200 left when I do that. And you know, if certain cards fall off that turn, if really bad cards come off, like eights and fives and tens, and I would say even a jack is not a good card. He's in position to make my life difficult. So I think calling is the best play here, and let's see what the action is on the turn. Let's not just a call, and then I check. And this is where I think it's pretty interesting. So now I feel like, okay, I need to check raise this spot, not because I'm trying to protect my hand from clubs and straights. That's not really why I'm trying to do it. It's that I want to get maximum value. I feel pretty confident that I'm ahead. And I definitely want to get him to spew off with aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, maybe even spews with pair of eights here. And so, or any 9-8, 6-8, 7-8 combo. And so I give him the opportunity to do that. And then also, I want to be able to jam rivers, right? So he's going to call with a ton of hands, all his clubs, all his naked eights. So jack eight, 4-8, and all better. And so I don't want to just call and miss value. So I decided to put in a check raise here, looking to get some value from those weaker hands. And a pretty significant check raise. And he does call. And I feel really good about, real quick up here on this table, I decided to go ahead and usually I only raised about 60. But we got two limps, and I'm going to ISO both limpers. You could even argue with the ante in there, probably going to 100 or even 120 is not terrible. 60 or less is just too small. So you can still let too many hands in behind you, and knowing that they just call here, they're getting a really good price. So that's a good. 80 is good. 100 may even be better, and 120 is probably fine as well. So I know here with the ace nine, I decided to go ahead and jam all in. I've got a pot, basically a pot size bet. After the check raise, my hand does become quite a bit polarized. And so if he's thinking, he also knows that I'm capable of check raising the turn as a bluff, representing a nine, but having like naked eights and flush draws. And so by jamming the river, maybe he decides to call me pretty light with just one pair. I really can't check there. I know you could maybe possibly argue like a check there could work because maybe you get a bluff by a naked eight. But I never want to lose value from hands like aces or kings, or jacks or ace queen. Maybe he gets stingy with just a six or a seven, or like I said, pocket eights. So I don't want to lose that chance for him to call with those hands that he would decide to check back. He may even call with ace high there, ace king or ace jack high. He may decide to call because my hand does look a little bit bluffy. It's kind of like I said, it's polarized. It's either a nine or it's a bluff. I'm not doing that with a seven or a six or just a queen that I hit. Maybe a queen, but very rare. It's a nine or nothing. And so, I want to put that polarizing bet out there. And not sure what he has, but he decides to fold there. And so here's the play I thought was really strange from Dreykus. Dreykus decides to limp min three bet because I raised 60 to 80 and he's now raised me 60 more. So a min three bet, which I thought could have been just a misclick. And for a second, I considered maybe shipping, but it's too early. The blinds are still 10, 20. And to be frank with you, I think in all the years I've played poker, I don't know that I've ever seen a limp min three bet. So I really have no idea what range even to put him on. Aces would make sense, but really that's about it. So I decided just to call. Um, and we break the flop, and I remember playing this flop just a little bit ago that I sort of made the decision here that you get the min donk out. I kind of just make the decision that I'm probably gonna call all the way down with this. Granted that it doesn't just run out all clubs here or something just really really bad run out. I kind of make the decision that I'm just gonna call down, and some of that is educational. I just want to know, if people ever do that again, like what are they doing that with? And so, really simple spot down here. I min opened after everybody folded, and I'm just going to bet out and win this pot. Nothing too exciting happens there. And so, there's things I love to do in the button and blinds play, and one of them is, I really like when I get a good hand early and I get a chance to three bet out of the small blind with a hand like Ace King, and just frustrate the button as much as possible. So I decided to go ahead and three bet my Ace King, slightly less than a 3x raise. And so we completely brick up here. And in my mind, I've still just made the decision that I'm going to call him no matter what, even if he jams, no matter what he bets, I'm just going to call and just eat it. If I ran into aces, I need to see as I continue to play and grow and playing these. I need to see what he did that with. There's just no way I could fold to a bet here and never know what he did that with. Probably a mistake, but I'm good enough. I think I'm comfortable enough with my small stack play to still be in that thing, in that sit and go. So we flopped really well here and just decided to go ahead and make a normal follow up bet, slightly more than half the pot, and I'm pretty sure he just folds. So I decided to call, and he decided to limp three bet with King 10 offsuit. And again, it could have been a misclick, but I think I've watched some other pots here later on to realize that maybe it wasn't. And that spot there, I would love to ISO check me, but Jack 8 suited is just too weak and just not going to do that. And so just making some notes there on Dreykus. So kind of upset with myself on the top right table. I had equity there to bet the turn, and I'm not really sure why I didn't do that. I usually like to go ahead and bet turns that are checked back, and I don't know. I decided just to check twice and let him just take it on the river. So not real sure why I did that. Some of that is definitely probably double or nothing related, where again there's no real advantage to getting first or fourth or the same payout. But that's not usually something that's as a fundamental. I want to be betting there on that turn. As a matter of fact, I think I even do it here. I think I decided to go ahead and bet this. Yeah, I think I kind of recognized that I wasn't doing it. It happened maybe even a couple of times earlier. It happened too. I just kind of lost my focus a little bit. Maybe the king 10 distracted me. The weird play with king 10. So down here in the bottom left hand table, I'm really happy to have check me on my right. Um, yeah, I remember that spot that just happened there with check me. I go ahead and make. I think I add another note there where he gets four bets in all in on the river with just a nine high flush with so many other hands that beat him. So I've just come to the conclusion he's not very good, but I'm glad he's in the games. And so four handed up here, everybody checks around with Dreykus limping and New Dynasty limping. Um, I can't bet out there with three people behind me, but with the king on the river, I'm kind of bummed because most of them should have a hard draw here. I probably should have bet full pot, and I bet just half pot. And I like to bomb a little bit more right there in those spots because you do get looked up by queens, jacks, and their pairs. But they folded anyway. But I think that could have probably could bet full pot there. And then if you get raised, that your hand's no good and you can fold. And so, but we want to get maximum value, and they decide to call with just they're probably not doing it with ace high, but definitely going to call with their queen or jack. They decide to check or any other pairs. And real quick up here, I think this is a spot that again that we could look to add some implement into our game a little bit. I probably really need to be three betting here because the button is looking to ISO Dreykus, who probably has notes on him himself if he's paying attention. And although my chip stack isn't great, we do got a little more than 40 big blinds. So yeah, I think I could three bet. We're deep enough where I could three bet there. I know it's early, but we're still looking to chip up at every opportunity we get. And so that's something. And with the ace removal there, I'd like to, like I said, consider doing a little bit more. And everybody folded to me, so I'm just gonna do what I normally do, which is just min bet into 86 Ivan. And we're fortunate enough to flop top pair. Decide to bet a little bit more than just half pot. And a really good card on the turn for me. I think it's a huge mistake when people out of position decide here that I'm going to check on this ace. Because if I check and he decides to turn it to bluff and he bets full pot or something, I'm really in a bad spot where if I decide to call the 490, I'm going to be left with about 700 chips, a little more than 700 chips, and the pot is going to have almost 1,500 in it, and going to be hard to fold, on the river if I have to check again. So, um, I'm still looking to get value for my 10, and that ace card is a great card for him to bluff. So if I bet and he goes all in, I'm pretty certain my plan was to call with that because that's a great card for him to decide to bluff with. You know that that ace doesn't hit my hand enough for him not to bluff right there. So with just a min open after everybody folds, yes, of course my range includes aces, but it's still all this hits it, and I'm still betting with air as well. So I decided to go ahead and bet again a little bit more than half pot, and I'm pretty sure it just folds. So the ace jack suited under the gun is good enough for a 3x raise. I decided to limp behind Tricus because a hand like fives is not good enough to ISO with. So I'm looking here just to get in, flop a set, play a big pot post flop. Uh, Everybody folds to the jacks. And so we got two players here in a limped pot with fives. And again, even though I wouldn't limp first, just a min three bet. So I make the decision like I did earlier against Strikers and even against Gator Tail when I was correct with the ace queen. I'm pretty much, I think you could debate re raising here. Jamming is probably just really bad because it is a double or nothing. But I decide just to go ahead and flat. I could three bet and look to take the lead in the hand, but I want him to bluff. I want him to play bad. So I don't want to discourage. I don't want to bluff with this hand. I don't want to three bet and then he folds a hand like ace 10 or ace 9 or king queen or king jack, queen jack. So I'm pretty sure I decided to call. And I decided to go ahead and follow up with my fives. Um, this is probably slightly debatable. This could definitely be a fold. So I decided to check, and he bets full pot, which earlier he bet min. So I wasn't sure exactly what that meant, but I'm certainly not just folding to one bet here, even though my chip stack is not great. And it's open for 3x down here. And so the ace 10 fold here, here's why you fold a hand like ace 10 in this spot is you have a limp from Dreykus, who I would have definitely ISO'd, and then Galt limp behind that, not real sure about Galt. So I decide just to throw my hand away. I don't think I can ISO two players, and I definitely don't want to limp behind with a hand like ace 10. So I decided to go ahead and throw it away. And so let me get play here and see what happens on the against Gator Tail, what I decide to do. I know I decided to go ahead and check this ace 10 because of the pot size. So let's just go back just 2 seconds. With Ric Flair only having 552, okay, he's not folding any of this board that he's hit, and he ain't folding probably ace jack, ace queen, or ace king. So I'm never going to get him to put it in with worse than my hand. And so I'm only betting myself into what he has better hands. If I'm ahead, I'd like to just hope my hand holds. And then with Barney behind me, you know, I can't come out here and bet 370 or something like that and have him just flat behind me. And now the chips almost will be like a full pot on the turn. It'll basically put almost 1,200 in the pot, and then he'll have a little more than 1,200, and we'll be in a really tough spot with him in position. So that's why I decided to go ahead and check in that spot. And like I said, it mainly because of Ric Flair. there's nothing I can bet where I don't have to call it off, and I'm just never beating him. So I might as well just, if I'm ahead, I'd like to just check and stay ahead with my showdown value. So we did go ahead and decide to fold up here with the ace jack. I think because the double or nothing plays a huge factor. We still have a starting stack, plenty of blinds. Still got plenty of blinds. Was that 50 big blinds still? So we're still in great shape. And while I do think we're probably still ahead a lot of his range, he just shows really stupid hands like 3-4 and 6-7 and stuff like that that's beating us, and just no need to get too involved there. And Barney does decide to go ahead and bet full pot against Ric Flair's range. And so I think I can comfortably fold my hand in that spot. So Gator limps, and I know that I usually never would raise this big, but I know I can smash whatever raise I want, and he's going to call. So I almost thought about just shoving it and having him call, but anyway, he goes in and calls that spot there. Good flop for us, comfortable to go ahead and bet a little more than pot. And I really wanted him to call here, but he decides to fold, unfortunately. So we follow up with our ace jack here, especially against check me, whose range is really wide. And actually, I think he check raises me here. And to me, check me as a player who doesn't have any fundamentals. He just kind of goes with just what he feels like doing. He just decides when he's going to just check raise out of nowhere and just lead out and flat in really weird spots and limp in weird spots. And so I think I go ahead and just make the decision that based on my chip stack and based on his check raising range, which is everywhere, that I'm just going to go ahead and jam. I do have backdoor diamonds, and I really should have the best hand pretty much every time in the spot. Yeah, so I decided to go ahead and shove. And he snap folds. All right, I love this spot here at the bottom right-hand table. Earlier, we 3-bet Nick, and a lot of times, if you'll notice here, he put in a 4x raise this time, and a lot of guys get really frustrated and start to get really curious the second, third, or fourth time that you decide to 3-bet them. So because of his 4x raise, and it also helps that I have a really good hand, I would have done this with probably ace, jack, ace, queen, and obviously aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, nines, and probably even eights. So I'm pretty sure I go ahead and decide to shove here and hope I get in a call with lighter. Based on his chip stack size, I mean, he could have easily folded. He still has almost 30 big blinds if he folds, so he doesn't have to call, but I think he decides to call really light. Yeah, and check me says he hit him. He did a misclick. I didn't even see this when I was playing. He says he did a misclick. I don't know how true that is though. And he snaps me off with ace nine, and we're lucky to um, hold up against him there and win a really good pot that set us up to continue to play really well for the rest of the sit and go. And I do like these bounties. They add a nice dynamic to the game. I think we go back to our fundamentals here where we go ahead and bet the turn and we hit our pair and with some equity and we get called, and the river's just a bad river. We're never winning this spot here. So I decided to go ahead and just check fold. I go ahead and ISO Gator Tail. He min raised, and so I raised it up quite a bit more. And what's he limp calling a raise here with? And I'm going to pause it real quick. Okay, with my chip stack, I can't bet my normal a little more than half the pot, which would have been basically about 400. Okay, if he calls that, that puts a little more than 1,500 in the pot, and I've only got 1,000 chips. Therefore, it's going to be hard to find a fold, even though I still have 20 big blinds. But against Gator Tail's range, I should be way ahead here a ton. And I really don't want to be putting it in behind on the fly, all in right here on the flop. So I think I just had to check back and try to get to showdown here again against him. I can't quite remember how it worked out. So he min bets the turn, and I'm never folding. Obviously, in that spot, I'm pretty sure I didn't fold. Yeah. I think this is where it gets funky. I think, if I remember correctly, I think he bets pretty big here, like almost like 5 or 600. And I want to say maybe he had King 10. I think I'm gonna have to kind of watch it play out, but I think he wins here, and I get yeah. So he bets almost full pot. Obviously, I'm never hesitating. I'm snap calling. I'm still way ahead of a ton of his range. I mean, he has everything from seven deuce to aces. He has the whole range. So I'm still a long ways away ahead of his range here. Yeah, so it was King 10. So it was just a pretty unfortunate spot. And again, I'm comfortable playing a short stack, even though I know it's a double up and there's probably an argument for folding there. I just think I'm too far ahead of what he has there way too often just to be folding in that spot. So now that the blinds are 25-50, I can comfortably min raise. And again, the reason I like to min raise is I'm just looking to minimize my risk when I get three bet on because I still want to be raising with a lot of my range, my good hands, my bad hands. I don't want to only be betting when I have the best hand. So I decide four-handed, three-handed now on the flop. I decide to go ahead and make my normal a little bit more than half pot bet because Blu-ray shouldn't be looking to get too involved in these spots. He shouldn't, based on them being slightly short stacked, he shouldn't really be looking to mix it up with me too much with that really strong hand. So on the turn here, um, instead of turning my hand into a bluff catcher, I decide that I think I can make him fold out his king jacks, his king queens, his king nines. I don't know if he's ever folding an ace here, but I think there is some likelihood based on the fact that I'm the only one at the table that can bust him, and he's not looking to just bleed off a lot of these chips when he's sitting in good position to to finish second or better. Even obviously beat me as well. So I decided to go ahead and see if maybe he would fold a mediocre ace if I put a strong enough bet out there to really rep my hand. And if he's got two pair or a set or a straight already, he's going to let me know that by a stronger bet. So I bet a little bit more than half again, almost 3/4 spot. And based on the amount of time he takes, I think he did probably fold a pretty good hand there. So, which makes sense. He should be looking to not mix it up with me. And oddly enough, we could roll right back into a spot on the turn where I pick up sixes on the big blind where he's open. And I'm telling myself the same thing. He shouldn't be looking to call off a jam here because, once it folds to me, I don't like just calling and having to check fold a ton. And while when I hit a set, I should be making some money in that spot. If he doesn't hit anything, then I'm not. So I'm not hitting a setup often enough here as well. And so I'm going to be out of position with a mediocre pair where I have to decide what he's willing to do. So I thought jamming here made the most sense. I actually think really and truly that I could get him to fold hands like sevens and eights. Probably not nines or better, of course, better than nines, but probably not nines. And then I think he's folding hands like ace jack, ace jack or worse, king queen or worse. Maybe he gets stingy or greedy with a hand like suited king queen, and then obviously all of his queen jacks and things like that. So um, my hand it seems like jamming here as a bluff is the best play. I should never be getting called by worse, and I'm okay with that. I'm not looking to ever get called by worse. I'm just looking to take the chips down now and continue to put enough pressure on all the players here. So um, I decided to go ahead and ship this spot with that thinking. And surprisingly, he pretty quickly snaps off with ace 10, which that's what I was trying to get to fold. I wasn't really happy with that. Honestly, I really thought he would fold that spot. And again, I'm not shipping because I have sixes. I'm shipping because of the chip stack situation. I think he should be folding there a lot. I know I would have folded ace 10 there, but, hey, if he's willing to coin flip it, then that's good for us. So we got him to call with worse, and he flopped a really big hand that we were really lucky to hold there. Had a ton. I was probably a favorite on the flop, and fortunately, actually, I think it might say that. Let's see if he became a small favorite on the flop. Yeah, so he becomes 56% on the flop, and so we were really fortunate to hold in that spot. I don't think that's a great play with ace 10, but he made it right. We get folded around too, so we had to go ahead and min open with the jack deuce. And I decided to shove with the ace 4. Was a little surprised to get called by king 5 suited based on he still got a chance to get second. I thought that was a little bit too loose, but considering all factors, I may call there because I am opening, I am shoving. My range is not just aces and kings, so my shove range there is somewhat wide. What he doesn't realize is usually when I get a chip stack built up like this, I'm not looking to shove hands like 4 or 5 suited and 10-9 suited, and I'm just not. I'm okay with folding those and letting these two kind of battle it out for second place. So again, real fortunate to hold against the king 5, who turned a lot of outs, and over here just a standard follow up bet, a little bit more than half, and get a fold there. And so I'm not looking just to start shoving a bunch of random hands here. I'm looking for something reasonable. I actually min open this thinking I could get worse to shove. And if I just shove it, I think a lot of the worst folds. So I was hoping to get a shove there with king 9. It's something to learn. It's okay to fold in these spots. It's okay to fold here. We don't have to just shove everything and try to get in there with everything. It's okay to fold. Ace 8's good enough. We're shoving. And we get called by king 9 suited. And again, they flop a ton of outs against us, and we're really lucky to hold and take down the sit and go. And I think we won every bounty except one, maybe, or yeah, I think except one. So really good sit and go there. And over here, what we did was we shoved with the king 6. It folded to us, shove into a small stack there. I think you only had 300. Just super standard, we win a coin toss and move on to the next hand. A kind of interesting spot right here. I decided just to call. I'm short stacked. I decided to call a min raise with my short stack, and when the flop comes out, based on the stack size and based on the fact that he's either calling or folding, and Gator is calling with a ton of his range on that board, it's a great board for him to call with a lot of his range. I decided to go ahead and just ship. I can't afford to have it checked around, so I decided to go ahead and just ship my spot there. Unfortunate to get 2 folds here. So this is really good hand right here on this table. This is why, I like min opening. I don't know if you've been paying attention the whole time, but I've been min opening. But I min open the small blind, and I get called, and I'm really comfortable with my hand here. I do my normal bet a little bit more than pot, and pretty sure I get called here too. And what I like about this is where the mistake people make with aces is, a lot of times don't get real caught up and I mean, unless it comes like Jack nine, or um, you know, unless a queen hits the turn or queen hits the river. Um, a jack wouldn't have been great either. But most people barrel three streets out of position after raising as bluffs. So why wouldn't I want to treat this like it's a bluff? I want to barrel all three streets out of position like it's a bluff and get him to call with one pair, which I was never worried about my hand. I mean, I was just never worried about it, even when it comes diamond, diamond. So, again, my bet this time is pretty big on the turn. And when that gets called right here, that lets me know that we've narrowed his range enough to um, just one pair. I don't think he can only call there with just Jack nine. I don't think Jack nine of diamonds, King Jack of diamonds, he can. But just a Jack nine, I don't think he can just call in that spot with just Jack nine off or King Jack off. I don't think. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but when we bet, what, more than a third of his stack on the turn, and he just calls, we should have narrowed in his range pretty good, and I did. I've decided now he's just got one pair, a queen or a 10. I don't know. He can still have a 10 there, calling against my range, and so in my mind, okay, on this river here, you know, some people get scared here and they check. Now, am I ever check folding? No, I'm not going to check. He moves in and I fold. And I don't want to lose any value from hands like Queen Jack, Queen Nine, 10 Jack, 10 9, King 10, Ace 10. I don't want to lose value from those hands. I want to be shipping this river and having him call. Again, my hand is going to look very much like it's a bluff with three streets of value. Okay. So after just thinking for a little bit, I decided to go ahead and ship, which looks like a bluff. Pretty sure he snap calls, which kind of made me a little worried when he did snap call. But again, we've made our hand look really bluffy, and he snaps it off with top pair, which I don't know that I blame him. I'd probably do the same thing. So just an unfortunate spot for him. And so we win the pot there. Easy standard ship up here. And I decided to get a little, I want to play a lot of flops with check me. So we're deep enough, I felt like, to go ahead and call with a really bad hand there. Unfortunately, it was just a really, really bad flop. So I just have to just get out of there. I've got no room to work or do anything with a flop like that. But really interesting heads up match coming here. I decided just to go ahead and bomb here. A lot of times guys will limp. Guys like check me and will limp with mediocre hands. You bomb and they still call it off with King X, Queen X, Jack X, etc. And so check me kind of starts, bullying me down pretty good here, and I'm okay with that. I'm still trying to min raise on my button, and it's getting three bet a ton. And so, with paired boards, I definitely want to be betting quite a bit here. He should be check raising me on paired boards. And so when I notice people don't check raise me, I feel really confident betting in position on the second street. I really hate bet folding in this spot up here. Get back to it real quick. Um, you know, blinds are still relatively small. I'm never three betting ace jack out of the big blind with our chip stacks the way that they are. And I decided just to check give up. And I really don't like doing that very often. I like to at least call once and make him bet again on the turn. But uh, for what I had noticed, which I wasn't paying a ton of attention, Federer had been playing pretty solid so far. And so, wasn't looking to mix it up with him too much. And so he did call the first bet. Pretty sure he checks again, and I go ahead and make the decision to fire pretty good bet on the turn, and I think he decides to fold. I decide. I think I ship here. No, I do min raise. Okay, with a6, and I think I min raised with the intentions of calling it off with worse, or hopefully calling it off, or getting him to jam with worse. So this was a cool hand here, where again I'm mixing it up with a mediocre hand. And where Chuck Me makes a huge mistake is he should know that I'm not like really trying to trap here. I'm looking just to get to showdown, and he picks up just a boatload of equity on the turn right here and decides to check, which I thought was pretty bizarre because it gives me a check back to get to the river, um, pretty cheap, and it works out for him because he bets really big on the turn, and I think he's doing that with more than what he's about to show. I think he's doing that with air, even threes. And so I decided to call, which is probably really questionable. It's a third of my stack, but just can't let him the check back on the turn is what want him to bet on the river there. But he probably gets more money if he bets the turn, okay, and I call, and then bets river, and I'm sure I'll still call again. Because again, three streets out of position looks more like a bluff than that one bet does. So he might even get me to, he might even be able to bet turn the same amount he bet there and I call. He probably can jam river and I call, and, and it's over. But he doesn't, and luckily we're still hanging around. So again, I don't think Check Me has a strategy. If you notice, he just randomly limps, he raises, he three bets big, he four bets, and so Check Me here now for the next few hands. He's going to decide he wants to show me all those little bluff moves that he makes. Really fortunate to flop a set here. Although that jam, honestly, I'm glad I didn't have ace high or queen high. I probably call that with all of those. And so I'm really happy I had at least a pair here. I'm calling with everything. I'm calling with ace high, queen high, maybe no worse than queen high. And I'm calling with deuces, any pair of deuces through. So I'm really happy that I didn't need a set to call this. I would have called with just a 9-5 or something too. Um, but I'm glad I had a pair here. And this is what I mean by Check Me playing like he's a plastic bag floating around. He has no fundamentals. He has no strategy. He's just putting chips out there and playing pretty reckless, and it seems to be working for him. Now, this was a spot that was interesting. I've got the gutter and the king, and I think the eight is always good here, so I decided to call. Um, and the fold with the ace ten might just be too light. That's probably a jam, but I think again the double or nothing affects some of that decision making. And I just decide that with Gator's Hill at the table, he's just gonna cough up and make a lot of mistakes. Where I think I can find better spots than ace ten than just shoving and giving a chance for four people to pick up a better hand behind me, call and just lose. Um, so I decided to fold there, which could be a mistake. But I, I I decide on the turn now that with my king eight, I'm not folding. I'm not folding. I'm not folding to any river. I'm pretty certain that that he's bluffing. And the 6 definitely makes my hand a lot easier to call. And I'm glad he didn't do something like shove here on the river, because I definitely would have called. And if he was any good at playing, um, he thinks he's bluffing right there. What he doesn't know, though, is he should be just bombing and getting value, because he should know he should know that I know that he's playing all of his range, and that I'm looking to call with hands like ace, king, and queen high. But he just is not much of a thinker. And so he does get value from me, but he missed out on at least another 1,000 chips, at least. So again, with the min 3-bet, pretty sure he just fires out, and I just decide, it's fine. Just let's fold. Let's just find some good spots. And the 7 deuce spot was unfortunate, and just is what it is. And so I do call a min raise here, even though I'm very short stacked. This spot is pretty questionable. I think the best play is check me does bet here, and I think it's a little more than, a 4.5x raise for me just to jam in. Um, that should be the play, because I know my 5 and 6 is live here pretty often enough to do that. And obviously I've got the 8 and the 4 for the best hand. So that should have been my play, was shoving on the flop here. I decided just to call and save some chips just in case I airball. And I'm definitely shoving any 5, 6, 4, 8. But if I airball here and I check again and he just jams in, I probably can fold, even though I'm only going to have 10 big blinds left. Maybe I can outplay him at that point. But we get pretty lucky to spike the straight, and I check, and I know he's going to jam in here, so it's an easy call. And so that's what I was talking about too. I get fold equity. Something I didn't mention was I get fold equity with my 5, 6. So if I just jam the flop, he folds, and I win a good pot just from fold equity alone. And that's why I said my 5, 6, 4, 8. I know all that's good. He's just super reckless, just putting chips in. And this spot here really frustrates me. I remember this very vividly. But all right, so he makes a huge 3-bet. And I haven't seen him quite 3-bet this high, but he makes a very, very, very large 3-bet. And what's funny about this is, not only do I think I should jam because I think he's folding a lot to a jam, is I think I'm so far ahead of his range. It's probably close, but I'm far enough ahead of his range where he may call with a 10-9, 10-8, 10-7, 10-jack, queen 9, queen 8, queen 7, etc. He might call a 5-6 offsuit. And so I was pretty frustrated with myself not shipping here. I take my time. You could probably tell I really was on the verge of shipping, and I just make the decision to wait for better spots, which I think in the long run could be better. Just waiting for better spots against players like checkmate. But I definitely took my time and just decided to fold, and he shows that he loves to show that he bluffs me. I guess it strokes his ego, and decided to call the min range at the 8-6, and I think I just brick and have to fold. And again, I go ahead and smash when he limps when I have A6. So Federer, who I think is a pretty solid player here, um, this hand unfortunately just plays itself up here in the top left. I've got ace queen with right at a little bit more than go ahead and pause it. A little bit more than 10 big blinds, but with the ante, it's right at it. So it plays itself. I'm never flatting here and just breaking flops and having to fold really. This one's different. This is not top four get paid. This is top three get paid, and it's tiered. Third, second, first is more money for first. So I just had to go ahead and ship. Ace queen is certainly good enough, and unfortunately, we run right into to ace king, and we brick. So just a standard follow up bet here with the ace three. And I definitely had my mind made up that if he check raised, I was going to call. I was even going to consider, you know, jamming with my ace high there and my double gutter. So I had to shove king eight, and he snap folds. That's what I wish I'd done with queen 10. Go ahead and tile the tables real quick. So this becomes kind of an interesting spot. So I flop middle pair here, and I'm pretty happy to do that. I think this is a good board where when this 5-6 hits his range of 3-7, 4-8, 7-8, 8-9, deuce 3, etc. Yeah, I feel like he plays those spots too aggressively. And so, I'm definitely going to debate on board texture on the turn and the river, but I'm really happy with my spot here. Very comfortable betting in position here, 100% for value. Because again, I just think he's calling with all that range, and he's going to put way too many chips into the pot. So the queen scares me absolutely none. I think that he could even use that queen with his hands like 8-9, 8-4, etc. that we just talked about, where he could try to bluff with that queen. So I'm pretty sure that I either bet again to get jammed on, or I decide to take my hand because I don't want to lose value. So there's two things I could have done. I really actually can't remember. I can definitely check back here and get him to jam rivers that don't complete any straight or flush draws that he's got, and he can and allow him to represent a hand like a queen. Or I bet here, hoping to induce, and I just can't remember what I decided to do. But I hope I did one of those two. I hope I didn't do anything else. Okay, so I do decide to check back so I can induce a bluff. That 7 is actually not a good card for us. Okay, that completes 8-9 and 8-4, and a hand like 3-7 and 4-7, he now has a better pair than us. Okay, but with my check back on the turn, I'm going to still be inducing all ends from deuce 3 that missed, 4-5, 6-4, 6-8, 6-9. I'm going to induce bluffs with those hands. And with a guy like Check Me in these spots, I think you just have to call and kind of eat it. And he does decide to go ahead and bet full pot. And I immediately snap call, and there's the 5 deuce. So there's a part of his hand that I'm going to get paid off there. So easily could see where I could run into a 7 in that spot. We were just fortunate not to do so. So it's not just a limp here. And luckily he checked. I was going to limp fold. And we brick, but I feel pretty comfortable with the backdoor hearts. Go ahead and betting, and he calls. And when I hit the turn, I'm 100% sure I have the best hand now. So now I'm just value betting now with my pair of tens. I'm never worried about a jack here in this spot. He calls again, and the river is a queen, which again I'm not worried about. And he decides to jam, and I snap call, and he missed his 3-6 straight draw. So we're fortunate to run good over here and pick up another first place in a 6 max. And as you can see from the timer, unfortunately, we don't run well in the double or nothing here. We're gonna, I think, pick up a hand probably in the next. I think it's the next hand or maybe the next hand after. We just pick up a spot that's probably pretty much unavoidable. The blinds are now 75, 150, so we have about 5 big blinds, and yeah, and we're on the big blind. And I was actually hoping that Gator Tail would shove here with his hands. And it's always tough when a really bad player picks up a really good hand and you run into the top of his range. But unfortunately, we run into the top of Gator Tail's range here, never folding in that spot, and we just run into the top of his range and lose, unfortunately. So. But regardless, it was a good night. I think we won $155, so I was really excited and happy with the way we played. And hopefully, I'll get a chance to spend some more time on here and play some more sit and goes. I've been really enjoying them. I appreciate you guys watching. If y'all have any questions, please comment. If you have any advice or strategy tips, I would love to hear about them. Please comment that well in the comments below. And really, again, thank you guys for watching.